Okay, I hope this is helpful for other folks trying to do this type of install. It's a video for Insane Diesel's bypass oil filter kit with the cooler upgrade. I installed it on a 2015 Ram Ecodiesel that has automated airbags. I went with the filter cap pressure port and the under the hood bracket. I have about 1,000 miles on the system, and the oil temps are noticeably lower and come back down more quickly after climbing. I mounted the filter housing between the radiator and window washer fluid. The truck body had an 8mm threaded hole or a welded nut. I drilled a hole in the bracket and bolted it to the truck. I used a stubby number 12 roofing screw and additional washer to screw the other side of the bracket onto the truck. I try to have the bracket hold the filter housing as far away from the lid as possible, towards the middle of the housing. Because the bracket has a large offset, the filter housing sits high and puts an indent into the padding on the underside of the hood. This doesn't bother me, but perhaps Insane Diesel will come out with a straight, not offset bracket that would improve this situation. I mounted the cooler behind the bumper using 3 pieces of 1-inch steel strapping. I used a 1/4 shorty bolts with washers and a nylock nut to mount the cooler to the straps. For plumbing reasons, the in and out ports face down. With the cooler and bypass filter mounted, it's easy to replace the stock oil filter cap with Insane Diesel's ported filter cap. The plumbing runs from the filter cap to the bypass filter, out the bypass filter to the cooler, out of the cooler to the top of the engine via the ported oil filler cap. The kit came with braided nylon hose and 6AN fittings. The trouble I ran into was with the thermostat. The thermostat tells the 2 fans on the cooler to turn on at 180 degrees Fahrenheit and to turn off if it drops below 180. Long story short, I moved the thermostat all around the plumbing trying to get it hotter because the fans weren't turning on. I even tried a different thermostat. In the end, my installation has the thermostat mounted after the oil filter cap, as close to the engine as possible. I even put insulation around it. But as it turned out, it wasn't a thermal thing, it was electrical. The wiring diagrams for both thermostats show 12-volt power going directly through the thermostat to the fans. The instructions show the fans draw a total of 7.2 amps. One thermostat was rated for 10 amps, the other for 15 amps, yet the fans would not turn on. I forget what the inspiration was, but I moved the thermostat from controlling the fans to switching the relay. My basic understanding of a relay is that it uses a little electric current to make a contact that can flow a much higher current. The relay uses a circuit from the truck to switch on and off power to the fans from the battery. In other words, truck off, fans off. I used a Micro 2 add-a-fuse and tapped into circuit F93 of the truck. F93 is the cigar lighter on this trim truck. Probing for voltage, I made sure that F93 turns on and off with the ignition switch. I used the added circuit as the switched power, or the yellow wire, of the relay switch that came with the kit. The red wire goes to the battery and the orange wire to the cooler fans. Previously, the thermostat was on the higher current orange wire going to the fans, per the instructions. Once I moved it to the low current yellow wire of the relay, everything worked great. Now, when the oil temperature at the thermostat gets to 180 degrees, the switch closes, activates the relay, and power goes to the fans. In other words, the thermostat can have a small current running through it, not a large one. Go figure. As a side note, I moved the inline fuse from the orange wire to the red wire, or directly after the battery. I added more oil to fill the system up, maybe 3 quarts. The bypass valve is spec'd to bypass oil at a rate of 3/4 to 1.5 gallons a minute. This engine has 2.5 to 3 gallons of oil in it. So roughly speaking, 1/3 of the oil is being filtered, cooled, and put back into the oil pan each minute. I think this is a relatively low-cost upgrade that should add life to the engine. Hope this helps. Okay, here's the big info. When you put the hose to any of these AN fittings, there's a counterclockwise light thread on the inside of those fittings that bites into the hose a little bit. So counterclockwise hose to fitting. Okay, the next big tip here with these hoses and fittings is to wet the tip of the male portion of the fitting that goes inside the hose, and then screw it down until there's a positive stop. It just locks stop. It's bottomed out. And to get it to bottom out, get the tip of the male part lubed. I put oil on it. You could use a different lube. It has to rotate inside the hose, and so I'll use another hand to keep the hose from rotating. And in the vise, I'll just run that male part all the way down until it's a positive stop. Good luck.